Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me. There are very, very few African-American men who haven't had the experience of walking across the street and hearing the locks click on the doors of cars. That happens to me, at least before I was a senator. There are very few African Americans who haven't had the experience of getting on an elevator and a woman clutching her purse nervously and holding her breath until she had a chance to get off. That happens often.
All right, folks, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. Hope you had a great weekend as we kick off another week here on a Monday. And joining us right now, I am very honored to have him back on the show, is former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales. Hello, Mr. Attorney General. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. It's good to be back with you.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, before we get to the president's remarks that he made on Friday afternoon, which we talked about on this show last Friday, let me start from almost the beginning here, and your views on the validity or the rightfulness versus, I guess, wrongfulness, if you will, of the verdict in the Zimmerman case.
I think that based upon the evidence, the facts, and the application of the law, I think the verdict was the right one. I think people need to remember that what is expected to be delivered in our criminal justice system is justice under the law. And I think that's what happened here. And, some people are not happy with the outcome. But, again, I think given the evidence that the prosecutors had to play with or had to use here, I think the outcome was justified. And I certainly understand that there's dissatisfaction in certain quarters about the outcome, and when that happens, it seems to me that maybe people need to take a look at the law as opposed to the outcome of the verdict. I think the prosecuting team did its job here. I think the defense team did its job here. I think the jurors did their job here, and I think the outcome was justice under the law.
Yeah, and I heard you say on CNN, sir, on Saturday that you followed the trial because it was of great national interest. I don't know if you saw most of it or all of it, but I think you will agree that even people who were anti-Zimmerman in their analysis recognize that, hey, things aren't going well for the prosecution's case. Their witnesses turned into good witnesses for the defense. Yet when the verdict was read on that Saturday night and ever since, wow, how could this be? It's racism. It's an all-white jury. Blah blah blah. I don't understand why they were so shocked.
Well, this is a very emotional issue here. Look, I think for a large segment of the population in the United States, people view this as the right outcome, the right legal outcome. As I said, justice under the law. But there is a significant segment of the American population that's not happy with the outcome, and I think what they're doing here is they're substituting their views about the case for their general views about the state of race relations in this country generally. People too easily forget that, in fact, George Zimmerman was Hispanic, and this was not a white on black situation, and people seem to forget this was not a stand your ground kind of case, and yet people are talking about the validity or the worthiness of stand your ground laws in various states around the country. So, people are acting emotionally because a young man tragically died, and it's understandable that people would be unhappy with not knowing why. I mean, it seems rather senseless, and they want to hold someone accountable. And I understand that. I understand it can be very, very emotional. And for that reason, I think people have been critical of the president coming out and speaking about this case. I disagree with some of what the president said, but I think given the fact that apparently a significant number of the African American population is unhappy with what's going on here, that I understand the president coming out and saying something.
I was going to ask you, sir, if you think it's wise for the president to dabble, as he did at the beginning of the case, as he did with the Cambridge police case, where he said, I don't know what happened, but the police acted stupidly. What was it that you disagreed with that he said on Friday, sir?
Well, he said that he disagreed with the prosecution, that this was not about race. You know, listen, this prosecution team lived with this case for months and months and months. The juror, I think B37, spoke about this case not being about race, and that juror lived with this case months and months and months and months. They know this case inside and out, much more than the president, and so respectfully I disagree with his assertion that the prosecution was wrong. This case was not about race.
And Angela, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was going to say Angela Corey herself, right after the verdict, said it's not about race. And the media has hidden this very well. But Fox News down in Florida had an interview with a black male alternate juror who said he agreed with the verdict. So, I mean, if they wanted to try to quell this, the media could at least use that to try to do that, but they don't want to.
Right, and so in any event, you know, there's been a conflation here. I mean, what's been conflated is the fact that you've got an outcome in this case, which by most legal experts is the right outcome, and you've got dissatisfaction within the African American community about race relations generally, and we can make significant improvements, it seems to me, in with respect to race relations. But people are sort of confusing the state of race relations today with the outcome of this case. And while I understand it because there is frustration in the African American community, quite frankly, it's not legitimate as far as I'm concerned in terms of there being a relationship to race relations and what happened in this case. I think whoever was on top of George Zimmerman, whether that person had been African American, white, or Hispanic, if in fact the facts are as George Zimmerman described, and this person is on top of George Zimmerman and beating his head against the sidewalk, that person would have been shot. It didn't matter that he was African American. That person would have been shot. And so it was not, as far as I can tell, as far as I know, because Trayvon Martin was not killed because he was African American. He may have been profiled initially because he was African American. Maybe George was suspicious or, didn't like what was going on there. But based on what the facts seem to show, that's not why he was shot.
Right, and let me ask you, we're talking to former U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Jesse Jackson himself has been quoted as saying at this stage of his life, when he walks down the street at night and he sees, he looks behind him and he sees that the voices he heard are coming from white men, he's relieved. The facts of the matter is that even the president acknowledges a disproportionate amount of crime in the black community. He blamed it on the past, but whatever the blame is, don't people, and again, profiling has been turned into a dirty word by what happened on the Jersey Turnpike. To me, that wasn't racial profiling. When state troopers stop someone to harass them, that's against the law. Police, people, everyone, we profile everything every day, and if police couldn't profile racially and otherwise, they couldn't make arrests. So my point is, how outrageous is it that people are afraid or take a closer look at people that they know disproportionately commit a good deal of the crimes?
Well, again, we're trying to talk about this in a way that's rational, but I did agree with the president's comments that this has to be taken. I mean, trying to understand the reaction in the African American community it requires an understanding of the context. The verdict, I think, triggers a sort of a deep-seated fear in African Americans who have been mistreated historically in this country, and there's no question, there's no denying that. It's hard for us to understand that, although being Hispanic, I'm aware of some of the concerns and fears that President Obama spoke about, because that certainly has existed and still exists today in the Hispanic community. So I think we need to be. I think the president was right in that as we look at this issue of race relations, we cannot make progress unless we are able to put into context some of the concerns and fears. And I think what's happened here, as I said earlier, is that people are sort of confusing the two in terms of
right.
They believe that what happened in the case is unfair and is symbolic of a racial discrimination that still exists in this country, when, of course, all the evidence is to the contrary. And it's for that reason that I think ultimately the Department of Justice will not move forward with the civil rights process.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you a couple of more questions, sir. And so you do not think there will be a civil rights case brought against George Zimmerman? I guess you think there is no case.
Well, you never know what you don't know, and so obviously they're going to have more information about what's going on here or what happened here than I know. And the other thing we have to remember is that there may be information or evidence that the prosecution or the defense could not get into the trial, and the investigators at the FBI may have access to that information, and on the basis of that information, they may say, okay, we believe we can make a case, we believe we can get it in a federal suit, and they may go a different direction. So I don't want to say that it's a slam dunk, they're not going to go forward. This is, as I said in my in previous interviews, this is a high-profile case, and I think the department is smart to make sure they've done everything they can do or should do in investigating this matter to satisfy people that there is no violation of federal law here. But based on what I know, I think it's a very high hurdle for the department.
Two more questions, sir, very briefly. The appropriateness of Eric Holder, the man who holds the position you formerly held, saying before black groups, I'm very troubled by the verdict.
Well, I think I'll just say that I think President Obama got it right the first time when he said we're a nation of laws and the jury has spoken. So that's my response.
Okay, and Angela Corey calling Zimmerman a murderer on national TV a day after the verdict, is that inappropriate?
I think depending on your definition of murder, I think it is inappropriate. But again, I think the day after the verdict, emotions are raw and there's a lot of tension, and I think that reflects sort of an emotional outburst. But listen, we are a nation of laws, and the jury has spoken. They heard all the evidence.
Right.
And justice under the law is what was achieved here. So for some people, it's not their form of justice. It's not biblical justice, perhaps, but it is justice under the law, and that's all that we can expect and are entitled to from our criminal justice system.
Mr. Attorney General, an honor to speak to you again, sir. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye. That's Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, who served in the Bush administration, of course. Very forthcoming, very honest, and very interesting answers to a lot of questions. And this is just the beginning of the conversation. This is going to go on for quite some time. One can only hope that, I personally think that if Justice had anything, or if the FBI had anything, obviously, hopefully, it would have been brought into evidence at the trial. But the FBI did hours and hours and dozens of interviews, and found that George Zimmerman is tutored black kids and took a black woman to the prom, and nobody has a racist word to say about him. Anyway, all right, we're going to continue. We're just getting started. It's a Monday. Welcome to Monday on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night. But eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting. And the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. Really interesting information from Alberto Gonzales. You know, I'm watching during the commercial break here. Pope Francis has arrived in Rio. He's the first, of course, Latin American pope. He goes back to his own continent, and he's there for World Youth Day ceremonies and festivities. From the airport or to wherever he's going, it almost looks like an OJ chase right now. He's riding in like a minivan, in the back seat of a minivan with the window rolled down. I kid you not. He's riding in the back seat of a. I mean, I think they've closed the highway. There is a black unmarked car behind him. I would at least and hope and assume that they have that kind of security. But he's got the windows down. It's like any other 4-door little, I guess it's like a minivan, right, guys? Is that what we're seeing there? Yeah, it's like a minivan, and he's got the window down. There's somebody in the front seat, and someone's driving, and he's in the back, and this is the first pope of his kind. I mean, he is just, gone the way, the opposite way of tradition in many respects, to be a man of the people and to be modest and to be like the average person as much as the being pope allows that. And wherever he can do it, he has been doing it. He's a remarkable man, and another remarkable scene here. We haven't, when he first was elected, and then the ceremonies and the way he acted and the things he did and bringing his own luggage back, etc. Well, now we have him driving not in a limo, not in any fancy car, but basically a minivan with the window rolled down. What could I say? Now, I want to touch, by the way, at the bottom of the hour, former Congressman Colonel Allen West will join us, a Republican, Florida, of course. to talk about stand your ground laws and the nuttiness of the making this into a racial case when there is no race in this case. And let me tell you a story. George Zimmerman, who's been in hiding since he was acquitted of murder, emerged to help rescue 4 people from an overturned truck. Sanford Police Captain Jim McAuliffe told ABC News that Zimmerman pulled an individual from a truck that had rolled over at the intersection of a Florida highway. The crash occurred. Well, I'm not going to tell you where it occurred. I don't need to give the Zimmerman hunters any more information than they already might have. The crash site, though, is pretty near where Zimmerman shot Martin. It's the first known sighting of Zimmerman since he left the courtroom. And apparently there were 4 people in that overturned truck. And George Zimmerman is a bit of a hero. He told police at the scene he didn't see the accident. He helped get the guy out. And then he and his friend left. Gee, I mean, I don't know how serious an accident it was. Nobody was hurt. But George Zimmerman, if he were in jail, would not have been there to help that man. What do you have? Now, here's another sickness. A Winter Park woman said she's been getting death threats to her cell phone after a jury acquitted Zimmerman. Her number is 1 digit away from Zimmerman's number, and someone posted her number online thinking it was his. So she said, my phone just started to blow up. Phone call after phone call, multiple phone calls. She said her calls and death threats to her cell began just minutes after the jury verdict. This is what's out there, folks. This is the sickness. I wish they could catch every one of these people making death threats online, on Twitter, on Facebook, and to cell phones and to people, and they should all be arrested for making death threats. Don't count on even one arrest. Don't forget, this is the Eric Holder Justice Department. They've already taken Zimmerman's gun and other evidence and shipped it to the FBI. We're coming back with Alan West on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency. Do you know the #1 cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
See, this racial stuff.
Attention hip implant patient.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we just hold it. Welcome back to the everybody wanted to talk at once. The announcer didn't want to shut up, and then the commercial wanted to speak again, and poor Bill Cosby was trying to speak. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. You see, it doesn't matter what's going on here. It doesn't matter that we have a story out today, which we're going to talk about, that Barack Obama had a meeting with a top IRS official 2 days before they decided to go after conservative groups. Oh, how high does it go? None of this matters. Nothing matters. What matters is that Duchess Catherine has given birth to a son. The media will find something to occupy itself with and ignore the IRS scandal, ignore what happened in Benghazi, ignore the fact that Congressman Frank Wolf took to the floor of the House and stated that he has information that people have been forced to sign, vows of silence, basically, that they will not talk about what happened at Benghazi, survivors of the Benghazi incident. None of this matters, you see, none of it. A Justice Department that has taken the gun, George Zimmerman's gun, not that he can't go get another one, but they've taken that gun as evidence and other evidence seized in the case. It's all now been sent to the FBI by the Justice Department or by the local authorities in Sanford and Florida, sent now to Washington so that they could continue to conduct their civil rights investigation. What an injustice. What a grave injustice. But none of that matters. Don't talk about anything. We got this baby watch. It's been baby watch all day. Why does anyone in this country in this day and age care about the Duchess giving birth to a boy, a girl, whatever? What difference does it make? How does it affect our lives? What do we care here in this country? Because it's gossipy? Because it's Camelotish? Because it's royalty? It's the royal family. Does anybody in this country really care about the royal family? I mean, don't we have better, more important things to talk about, like Geraldo tweeting a half-naked picture of himself? What the heck was that about? What, saying 70 is the new 50 or something like that? He's 70 years old? Could be. I guess he could be. So he tweets a half-naked picture of himself? Is he running for mayor? Is he running for political office? That's what I want to know. I heard him say this morning when I was driving in that his children are embarrassed. Well, he has young children, old children. I'm sure some of them are embarrassed. And what kind of narcissist do you have to be, with all due respect, to do that? What kind of narcissist do you have to be to tweet? Who cares what you look like, Geraldo? Who cares? Sure, it generates publicity, but if that's the way you need to generate publicity, you don't get enough publicity? I mean, you're on the radio, for crying out loud, every day, all over the country. You're on Fox every weekend. Everybody knows who Geraldo is. You need a half-naked picture of yourself? Please. But that's what he decided to do. So that's what the world is all a flutter, a Twitter. That's what we're all a Twitter about, so to speak. That's what we're all a Twitter about. Not that the Obamacare, and our friend John Fund wrote this piece today at National Review, that community organizers are going to be using the federal database. And we talked about this with a congressman last week. The fears that the information mining that's going to go on under Obamacare, that it's going to, this information is going to, it can't possibly be kept where it belongs. It's going to get out. And how will that information be used? Your health records in mind. Well, now we have a story by John Fund, community organizers. Remember Barack Obama used to be one? They will use the federal data hub to sign up people for subsidies and even ballots. So community organizers are going to have our information. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing stuff. And then we have a former HHS official under George Bush saying this is no longer about health care. This whole fiasco is about the Constitution of the United States. All about the Constitution of the United States, which is something that, of course, this president has said is a flawed document. So we got, but the baby, the royal baby, Drudge's headline, it's a king. It's a king. I mean, how do we know this king is going to grow up to be a king? Who was it who said that they prayed? Snooki. Snooki prayed that she had a gay son, that a gay son would be born to her, right? I say that putting up a headline, it's a king, is premature. Not that there would be anything wrong with that, as Seinfeld would say, right? You could have your first legitimate... I'm not even going to go there. Why would I even go there? I'm not even going to go there. Doesn't make any sense to go there. All right, you know where I really don't like to go? Oh, what a radio transition that was. Woo! I really don't like to go to the gas pump. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore, but this is exactly what Obama and his policies have wrought. This is exactly what Obama wants. How could he not be blamed? How could he not be blamed? Well, he's never blamed. Well, now, even in New Jersey, it's like $3.60, $3.70 a gallon of gas. We're just about halfway through the summer. They say it's going to go higher. I mean, this is insane. Now, I don't know what a gallon of gas costs in Florida, but I'm sure our next guest probably could tell me real quick. And we welcome in for the first time to this incarnation of the Steve Malzberg Show, but not for the first time on the Steve Malzberg Show. We used to talk on WOR quite a bit. We welcome in former Congressman Colonel Allen West. Hello, sir.
Steve, it's great to be back on the air with you, no matter what the venue.
Well, it is my pleasure to speak to you, and you know how much I admire you. And I think the last time we talked was when you were just you and your family came under such vicious attack, hateful attack from your opponent, and just disgusting stuff. But let's move on from that. Let's talk about what we're seeing here. I mean, Congressman, You know it better than I, but, this verdict was no surprise to anyone, even those on the left or those who were rooting for Zimmerman conviction. Day after day, they said, hey, this trial's going really bad for the prosecution. Every witness turns into a defense witness. This is an embarrassment. They're not making a good case. They're making mistakes. And then when the verdict comes down, oh, my God, it's racist.
Yeah, well, if you had not had many of those external voices coming down to Florida and injecting themselves into what is supposed to be a very objective legal or judicial system, maybe it would have been different. Maybe we would have seen maybe charges that were commensurate with the evidence that was going to be presented. You could have gotten something like the manslaughter being the top order and negligent homicide or aggravated assault. But, of course, people want to try to make this out to be greater than it was. And it was a very hard case when you talk about murder, too, for the prosecution to be able to, substantiate those charges. That's a very high bar that they had to prove, and they could not prove that beyond a reasonable doubt to the jury. And so you saw the verdict that came about. And what is most disturbing is that instead of people trying to go out and educate the greater mass or the mob, if you want to call it that, on the legal system. I mean, you have people like Jesse Jackson that's going on TV and doesn't even understand that a jury of your peers means the defendant and not the victim.
Right,
so this really has to scare people that you have these individuals, and I'll be very honest, these race baiters that are going out to try to make themselves relevant, and they're stirring up the masses, and they don't even understand the judicial system themselves.
No, they look, and you wonder, Congressman, are they that ignorant that they don't understand it? But then come the words right out of Jesse Jackson's mouth. This is Emmett Till all over again, and Florida is an apartheid state, and we need a UN investigation. I mean, it's not even funny. He's just going to one extreme that is not even. I mean, what does this do to the memory of Emmett Till?
Well, it's horrible, but as always, I went back and did some research because I'm sure I could find a quote that is appropriate to these times in this case. And I shared this a few times. It's a quote from Booker T. Washington from 1911. And he says, "There is a class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles, they have grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrongs, partly because they want sympathy and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances because they do not want to lose their jobs." And I just think that tells the story.
Well, you said it very, very well, and kudos to you for finding that quote. We're talking to Alan West here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And, Colonel, let me ask you about Stand Your Ground. Here's another perversion. This case had very little, if anything, and we just had Alberto Gonzales on, and he agreed, very little, if anything, to do, first of all, with race. He said no matter who was on top of George Zimmerman, if the facts are correct, as we know them, beating him, his head into the ground, no matter what color he was going to get shot. And having said that, Stand Your Ground had nothing to do with Zimmerman's defense. Yet they're attacking Stand Your Ground all the way from the president and the attorney general on down. And the fact of the matter is, as I'm sure you're well aware, living in Florida, black Floridians have benefited more percentage-wise based on their population. They've made about a third of the state's total Stand Your Ground claims in homicide cases. That's a rate nearly double the black percentage of the population there. And the majority of those claims have been successful, a rate that exceeds that for Florida whites. So blacks have benefited from this. And again, the disinformation is this is a racist law.
Yeah, once again, the truth is an obstacle to people that are on the other side, being liberal progressives or the race-baiting, quote-unquote, faux black leaders. But it comes back to what Rahm Emanuel said, never let a good crisis go to waste. Right. So this becomes another backdoor way that, this administration can try to attack gun rights. And, we see them buying up ammunition so that people that do have guns can't get ammunition. Now you're going to attack the Stand Your Ground law, which is not just in Florida, but it's in another 22 states, and this is really a state's issue. This is not something that the federal government really has any standing to weigh in on. But the real crime here now, Steve, is that you have a Department of Justice that the FBI did an investigation, and they said there is no basis for any, racial prosecution. There is no animus or racial hatred that we can find with George Zimmerman, but yet they have opened up a hot tip line for people to call in and say, I've seen George Zimmerman do this or I've seen George Zimmerman do that. My question is, why didn't they do that with Fast and Furious? So again, you have a system, you have a government, an agency that is based upon corruption and also intimidation, and it's being influenced by advocacy groups, being that folks like Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and the NAACP, and then you also have the Congressional Black Caucus chiming in on it when they really don't understand, and there really is no basis for this to be pursued as a civil rights charges against George Zimmerman, and it's what's going to end up happening. It's going to be very embarrassing, and they're going to have egg on their faces. There's no doubt that the family will, file a civil suit for wrongful death, and they'll win that because that's easy to prove. But I think that once again, the president's statement on Friday, I saw nothing glowing or glamorous about it. And as a matter of fact, I told people, I was raised in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia, and I don't recall being followed at malls or shopping centers. I don't recall, car doors clicking locked when I walked across the street. And I definitely have not had women clutching their handbags and purses when I got on the elevator. I believe it comes back to being a respectful young man, and maybe that's something that was missing out of President Obama and Trayvon Martin's life. But, to try to play this and try to make it a personal experience, this was just absolutely horrific.
Yeah, well, again, and by the way, John McCain should learn that the federal government has no role in these state laws because he wants an investigation now into stand your ground laws. I don't know what he's thinking. But let me also ask you about...
Or not thinking.
Yeah, I know. I can't, between him and Graham, I just don't know what they're doing. But let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. We were also presented with Rachel Gentile. And Piers Morgan and the media have tried to single-handedly make her into, I don't even know. You tell me what they're trying to do. In other words, if you don't say whoop ass, and if you don't say the N-word ending in an A, and if you're old and you don't understand, it's a cultural difference, and if you're cracker, that's okay. We just don't understand it. What on earth? What on earth is the media and those who are defending Rachel Gentile trying to make that kind of behavior acceptable, or try to convince people like me who don't accept it that we're racist?
Yeah, it's once again, it's the old judo trick of trying to, throw the weight back on you or try to, pin you and make you feel that you're doing something wrong. Bottom line, this is exactly what a Democrat senator, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, talked about. This is the soft bigotry of low expectations, where you're saying, this is what we should expect from this community. You're failing these kids in these inner city schools. You're failing them, and you continue to come up with excuses. We've been through this thing about Ebonics being a language and should be taught in school. It's not. It's just bad English. But yet you continue to have the liberal progressive socialists that want to excuse away this type of behavior because they don't want to face up to the fact that they're failing. Their NEA centralized education system is failing these young people, and that's another reason that leads to some of the problems that we see in the inner city. Look, Steve, just this past weekend, 4 young black men were killed in
Chicago. Yep.
During the course of the entire George Zimmerman trial, 61 young black men were killed in Chicago. I have not heard anyone, raising any kind of craziness about that. No one, said anything about the 2, black teenagers, 17 and 15, that shot a 13-month-old white child in the face, while they were trying to rob their mother.
In Atlanta, right?
No, in Brunswick, Georgia.
Oh, Brunswick, Georgia. I'm sorry. Yes.
Brunswick, Georgia. And that happened March of this year, and they pled not guilty. So no one is talking about that. The 13 million black babies have been aborted since 1973 with Roe versus Wade. No one's talking about that. No one's talking about the fact that you only have 28% of black children have mothers and fathers in the home, 72% out of wedlock births. So these are the things that you would think people would be talking about instead of trying to, make excuses and turn someone like Rachel Gentile into a victim, or, parading around and really not coherently explaining the justice system in the United States of America, and especially that in the state of Florida.
Are we going to get you back in politics?
Yeah, I'll be back. I got a lot of great things that I'm doing right now, working with PJ Media and Next Generation TV. That's the internet program. We're based here out of D.C. The headquarters is still in L.A., doing the Fox News contributing. I'll have a book to be out early next year. And as a matter of fact, this coming weekend, I'll be in Denver speaking at the Western Conservative Summit.
Great. Well, listen, you are a voice that is much appreciated and needs to be heard as much as possible. And, Colonel, always a pleasure. We'll have you back soon, sir.
I look forward to it, Steve. You take care.
You too. Take care in regards to your family. That's Colonel Allen West, ladies and gentlemen, former congressman from the state of Florida, of course, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And it's crazy, but it's so refreshing to hear a voice of sanity on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show. If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number. 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So did anybody catch the British Open? Now, there's something going on that went on that I care about overseas, across the pond, as they say. I love Phil Mickelson, always have, and I don't have any use for Tiger Woods. And, of course, the media, they like Mickelson when he wins, but, of course, everybody would have loved to have seen Tiger. Tiger collapsed. And we're going to talk about this later on in the show with John Maginnes, former PGA Golf pro and host of Maginnes on Tap. What a comeback. One of the greatest final rounds ever shot, probably in any major, but definitely at the British Open. He went into the final day of competition down 5 strokes. Down 5 strokes. And he won. And it was just amazing to see. I think he birdied 5 of the last 6 holes. And you can't help but root for Phil Mickelson. He had never won the British Open until yesterday, and it was just wonderful to see it. It was certainly a thrill. Little Beatles going on there, but, very little. Anyway, in the next hour, folks, we're going to be joined by Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post. I'm talking about President Obama's speech last Friday. We're going to be joined by Kevin Jackson, author of The Big Black Lie and the Truth About the Democratic Party. More Obama talk. And General Paul Vallely will join us along with Billy Vaughn. They've co-authored a new book, Betrayed, Exposing the High Cost of the War on Terror. And John Maginnes, the aforementioned, on the British Open. So a lot to talk about in the next hour on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show. Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S., specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry surprised many this past Friday when he announced a possible return to peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians. But despite Kerry's efforts, those talks still may never happen. The negotiations would take place in Washington, D.C. and could begin as early as this week. Even so, Kerry acknowledges there's still a lot of work to do before both sides can sit down and talk together. Israelis and Palestinians are expressing doubt that these peace talks could resume.
This is a very tough nut to crack, and I don't see it being easily managed at this time, given the politics of the situation on both sides.
Among the many obstacles, Palestinians are demanding that Israel pull settlers from disputed territories and that they reestablish the 1967 borders. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not budged on these items in the past. Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas warned that all options are open if peace talks fail, but he did not elaborate. And Pope Francis arrives in Brazil today for his first major international tour since becoming pontiff. An estimated 2.5 million people are expected to arrive in Rio de Janeiro to see the Pope during his visit for World Youth Day. Despite recent riots in Brazil, the Pope will not ride in the bulletproof Pope-mobile because he says he wants to be closer to the faithful. This is also his first trip back to South America as the world's first South American Pope. It is also expected to be his only overseas trip this year. And thousands rallied in dozens of cities over the weekend demanding justice more than a week after George Zimmerman was acquitted in the murder of Trayvon Martin. Some civil rights leaders continue to call on the Justice Department and press for federal charges against Zimmerman. And today, people are still talking about President Obama's very personal comments on the verdict.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me.
Meanwhile, pro-Zimmerman protesters also marched this weekend, meeting up with Trayvon Martin supporters in Texas. However, both rallies remained peaceful under the watchful eye of police. And investigators in Texas are trying to determine what caused the death of a 51-year-old Dallas mother at Six Flags. She was riding the Texas Giant roller coaster, and witnesses say she flew out of her seat just moments after the ride began. Police and fire department officials say there is no evidence of foul play. That ride is now closed while the investigation continues. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, massive amounts of rain fall in Arizona. See the daring rescues needed as floodwaters consume the streets. Next. Plus, why Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen says Obamacare ruined the Senate's immigration bill's chances of ever passing in the House. That during a Newsmax exclusive.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com. In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
And welcome back. People in Phoenix are still cleaning up after a storm hit the area Sunday, causing flash floods. Several people had to be rescued in dramatic fashion when floodwaters trapped them in their vehicles. Some roads are still shut down as a wave of mud covered everything in its path. And immigration reform continues to be a political hot potato, but aside from policy, one of the biggest barriers may be the different approaches both houses are taking. The Senate already passed one big bill, but that will not happen in the House of Representatives. During a Newsmax exclusive interview, Florida Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen explained that that's because of Obamacare.
Nobody wants to vote for these mammoth bills. That's what the Senate bill is. So many hundreds of pages. We say House is going to work its will. We're going to do a piecemeal approach.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 22nd. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
When Trayvon Martin was first shot, I said that this could have been my son. Another way of saying that is Trayvon Martin could have been me 35 years ago. And when you think about why, in the African American community at least, there's a lot of pain around what happened here, I think it's important to recognize that the African American community is looking at this issue through a set of experiences and a history that doesn't go away.
All right, that's the president last Friday. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, hour number 2 of the 3-hour extravaganza. Joining us now to talk about what the president had to say is Jennifer Rubin. You read her, the Washington Post, the Right Turn column. Hello, Jennifer. How are you?
I am just fine. How are you doing?
Good to talk to you. It's been too long. The president, the headline of the piece that appeared the other day was President Obama's sad view of America. And I got to tell you, I couldn't agree more. And just what he said there about how African Americans view this verdict based on a history and a past that just won't go away. Let's talk about that before we address what else he used the past as an excuse for.
He seems to believe that there is no circumstances under which African Americans can judge their fellow citizens on those citizens' actions and beliefs and, in this case, criminal liability based on the facts before them. They can't judge people for who they are. Martin Luther King said, for the content of their character. And what he is saying is you have to understand, America, African Americans cannot be expected to view people in that fashion. I think that is the most demeaning, the most really bleak outlook we can have about our fellow citizens. Can't we at some point aspire to something better? Can't we at some point use a teachable moment to say, this jury evaluated the facts as they were. My own FBI evaluated the facts as they were. By the way, he never mentioned that in the speech. So that we get out of this racial archaeology and we begin not to ignore problems that still exist, but not be held prisoners forever in a past that most Americans have never personally experienced. I think it is time to stop using this both as a crutch or as a method of stirring up his base, because it doesn't solve anything. It makes people more distrustful of one another, and it convinces people that the justice system, of which he is in charge of now, is somehow corrupt and dishonest.
Yeah.
And that's a strange position to take for the guy who's the chief executive of the executive branch.
It is absolutely. And then he went on, as you point out in your column, and you quoted what he had to say. We have the soundbite, but for expedience, I'll just say that talking about the violence and the disproportionate amount of crimes that African Americans commit and the violence in many African American neighborhoods. And he said they understand that some of the violence that takes place in poor black neighborhoods around the country is born out of a very violent past in this country, and that the poverty and dysfunction that we see in those communities can be traced to a very difficult history. And I'm sitting there saying, what am I missing? Are you talking about Jim Crow? That's responsible for teenagers killing each other today and killing others? Or is it slavery? What violent past are we talking about?
Exactly. It's just mind-boggling. And first of all, he doesn't address the issue of black-on-black crime, which is much larger, as you know, and much more of an endemic problem. And he doesn't comment on every black kid who shoots another black kid. Why is that? He's only interested in cases that can bring up the race issue? What about the number of black kids that are killed every week, every month in Chicago?
But I think he blames that, Jennifer, on the quote-unquote violent past. I don't get it.
Apparently. And you know, the sad part about it, or the disgusting part about it, however you think of these things, is that he doesn't then address the current problems. He doesn't address broken families. He doesn't address kids who grow up without fathers. He doesn't address the broken schools. He doesn't address the drug problem. So that all of these things are never addressed because it's slavery or it's Jim Crow or whatever. And it's a complete lack of responsibility. I feel like we've gone backward decades in the race issue. I thought we had gotten to the point where whites, blacks, Republicans, Democrats realized that there are certain problems in the African American community that need to be addressed, but that at this point, however we got here, we're here, and we should start working on them, start having policies that are family-friendly, start having policies that if not reward, at least encourage young men to take responsibility for the children they create. And instead, he's there telling them, oh, it's, you know, slavery, or it's Jim Crow, or it's something else. It's really a horrible message.
It is a horrible. We're talking to Jennifer Rubin of the Washington Post. You could read her column at the Right Turn column at WashingtonPost.com, and here on the Steve Malzberg Show. He also then said about, at the very end, I don't have the exact quote in my head, but he talked about that a conversation. We need a conversation. But then he went on to say something like, but often a conversation with the two opposing sides basically is useless.
And what's worse, he said, and really politicians should stay out of it. So why did he take his own advice and stay out of it? You know, the notion that we haven't had a conversation on race in this country is ludicrous. We have continual conversations, ongoing conversations, and you can say it's too much, it's too little, but the idea that no one ever talks about race in America, where does that come from? Maybe they don't spout back what he wants Americans to believe and to say. But you can't say we haven't had these conversations. We had a Supreme Court case on affirmative action. We've had a whole discussion about the Voting Rights Act. We have affirmative action discussions outside of legal cases. We have conversations about just what we were talking about problems in the inner city. No one is ignoring the subject. They just don't believe what he believes. And therefore, we're not being honest. We're a nation of cowards, as Eric Holder says. I don't buy it. I don't think most Americans buy it.
No, and I don't know, you know, none of this would be able to be accomplished by the president, by the attorney general, who got away. When I say got away with, I mean by the media, which is where I'm going, by saying, I know this verdict troubles you, he said to the black group, and it bothers me too. Corey, Angela Corey, thought and called George Zimmerman a murderer 2 days after the verdict. So if the media wasn't willing to permit this, Jesse Jackson says Emmett Till, he says apartheid state in Florida, just ludicrous insanity that he's, you know, ranting and raving about. And if the media, if this were, you know, the opposite way, and it was George Bush, and it went the opposite way, and it was right-wingers, you know, white bigots or race baiters saying the opposite things, the media would pound them to death. But the media eats it up because that's how they feel.
Yeah, I think it's this very destructive codependency they have, and it's very tempting for politicians like our president because he knows he can make those people jump when he screams. And I think that it's both sides of the problem. We have to elect better people.
Yep.
And I don't mean people who agree with us. I mean people who are better people who are better than this president. And I mean that very directly. I do not think that this man is a good person. I don't think he's honest. I don't think he understands the ramifications of the word he says. He wants to incite people and to rally people for political ends. But that is not a good person. That is not someone who really wants to bring people together. That is not an honest person. And I think whatever your ideological predispositions, we have to elect decent people to public office. There's not going to be any getting around that. The media is bad. They've always been bad. They're arguably worse than they've ever been. But ultimately, I can't elect the New York Times editorial board. I'd like to. But I can't elect the President of the United States. I can't elect senators, congressmen. So I think, if anything, this should reinforce people of goodwill and their efforts to find decent people. And whatever we do, whether I agree with someone ideologically, you have to examine the strength of their character, their honesty, their willingness to use issues to pit Americans against one another. And this president has just been the worst.
Yep,
absolute worst.
I agree with you. Jennifer, thank you. Good talking to you. We'll keep reading you, and we'll have you back soon. Thanks.
Great.
Bye-bye. Jennifer Rubin, ladies and gentlemen, Washington Post. Right Turn is the column. Here on the Steve Malzberg Show, when we come back, we're going to be joined by Kevin Jackson, author of The Big Black Lie, How I Learned the Truth About the Democratic Party, on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to Newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
Let me just tell you this, man. See, this racial stuff goes into a whole bunch of discussion, which has stuff that you can't prove. You can't prove if somebody is a racist unless they really come out and do the act and is found to be that. Am I making sense?
You're making sense to me. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg. Let me just finish my Jell-O pudding. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Joining us now that was, by the way, Bill Cosby, but joining us is Kevin Jackson, author of The Big Black Lie, How I Learned the Truth About the Democratic Party. Hey, how are you, sir? What's up, Kevin? You hear me? Kevin should be hearing me. He might have froze. Either that's a nice smile.
Yeah,
there you hear
can
me,
you hear
Kevin?
me? Yeah, I hear you.
Okay,
fine.
good.
Yeah, I hear.
Welcome back to the show. Appreciate it. So,
oh shoot, I lost you.
Okay, he said he lost me. Well, maybe we could just.
Hey, hang on, I'm gonna get a better connection here. Give me a couple minutes. Sorry, guys.
I don't have a couple of minutes.
All right, well.
Yeah, stay where you are. Yeah, I hear you. That's fine. That's fine. We could just do it on the phone this way. All right. So tell me your impressions when Barack Obama was speaking yesterday and Friday and saying what he was saying. What were you thinking?
I was thinking, what a joke. I mean, the idea that Barack Obama is trying to make it sound like he's got, the experiences of a black man in America is ridiculous. It was totally to get street cred. And anybody that was listening can understand that. How do you grow up with two white parents, living in Hawaii, go to, and I'm going to use this term loosely, but white colleges and university? He didn't go to a historically black college or university. He acts as if people were threatened by him and locking their doors and women clutching their purses. This is the most benign-looking black man on the planet. So what is he trying to prove? Really nothing. I mean, it was all contrived. It was just part to fit the narrative of the story that he wants to tell.
Right. And aside from all that, what does any of what he said have to do with Trayvon Martin and the case, except at the beginning when he said, when he tried to explain why African Americans don't accept the verdict or question it more. But then again, he gave these examples, which he said 2 of the 3 happened to him, as reasons for it, and then went further and acknowledged that the African American community knows about black-on-black crime and knows about violence in their own community, but blamed it on a violent history in our country. What does that even mean?
He blamed, look, there's nobody certainly under 40 that can relate to anything that he said. When he talks about, I mean, think about it. He's hearkening back to the slavery. He's hearkening back to the civil rights movement. You'd have to be 70 to 80 years old for most of what he said to have any meaning. And for the record, and this is the part that really gets me, they want they want to harken back to history with respect to blacks and say the reason why he used the word frustrated, that blacks are frustrated that people don't want to pay attention to this. Well, let me tell you what whites are frustrated about. They're frustrated about the amount of crime that black teens create, and therefore the reason why if a person locks their door, Barack Obama wants you to believe, oh, white people aren't getting carjacked by young black thugs. He wants you to believe that black people aren't going to stores and stealing. You've seen these gang mobs going around. He wants you to believe that white women aren't getting their purses snatched, but he's never bringing it up. He knows that's happening, but he's completely disingenuous by saying, oh, no, that's this latent racism that they don't even know that they have because it's institutionalized. No, it isn't. Most of these children have no idea of what Barack Obama is talking about with respect to racism. And when you look around this country, every major city, every little town, blacks are lawyers, doctors, attorneys, going to the highest offices in the land, including his. What excuse does this knucklehead think he's pulling off on the American people?
Yeah, good question. We're talking to Kevin Jackson, author of The Big Black Lie, How I Learned the Truth About the Democratic Party, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And furthermore, wasn't it Jesse Jackson himself who thinks that Florida is an apartheid state that needs the United Nations to intervene into, and that Emmett Till is that Trayvon Martin is Emmett Till? Didn't he also say that at his nowadays? But this is going back a while. When he walks down a dark street at night, and if he hears noise in back of him, and he turns around and he sees that it's a bunch of white people or white men, he's relieved. Didn't he say that? Isn't that profiling?
Look. First of all, I tell people all the time, if you don't profile, you're an idiot. You profile where to build your house. You profile the neighborhoods you want your
Absolutely. Amen.
You profile who you want your daughter to date. And
no, keep
and
going.
Lots of other,
yeah.
And you profile lots of other things. And the problem is that, the idea that profiling is some sort of a bad thing is just ridiculous. As far as Jesse Jackson's comment in Florida, it was that, again, apartheid. I would love to see. Let me tell you what apartheid is. Apartheid is based on how liberals have gathered blacks into these urban indoctrination centers and have essentially given them one group thought, built these, ghettos, and essentially said, we're going to put a black overseer over you, and the only way for you to escape is if you can escape the group think and the group thought that liberalism is going to create for you. It's black conservatives who have escaped these ghettos, and thankfully we're out here. I mean, unfortunately, not enough people have the guts, but we're out there saying the truth about what's going on.
Well, in the next, I hate to interrupt you, Kevin, but in the next 35, 40 seconds, that's what I was going to say. The media is on board with this. The so-called leaders are on board with this. But the brave people like you and Larry Elder and Bill Cosby and Charles Barkley are fighting. But how could you get more people on board from your community?
Well, I don't know. Well, I think we've got to run messaging in the black community. That's what my team is doing. We're running a message right now about this kid, Tamar Boggs, who saved a young white girl from being abducted, a 5-year-old girl, and he rode his bike chasing the kidnapper in a car. That's a story of empowerment. That is the true black black condition that I'm aware of and what I grew up doing. He didn't care about that little girl's color. She happened to be white.
Right.
So those are the stories we got to tell.
Kevin, thank you so much, sir. We'll have you back soon. Keep up the good fight. Thank you. All right, folks, when we come back, a great new book out by Paul Vallely, General Vallely, and Billy Vaughn, who lost his son, a Navy SEAL. It's called Betrayal, and we'll tell you why it's called Betrayal on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time.
Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it was just about 3 months after we got Osama bin Laden. August 6, 2011, Operation Lefty Grove is underway, a highly dangerous mission to take out another high-level Taliban operative. In the pitch black dark of night, 25 special ops forces and a 5-man flight crew board Extortion 17, a CH-47 Chinook helicopter. 7 unidentified Afghan commandos are allowed to join them. Ground forces have been engaged in a 3-hour intensive battle already. Extortion 17 specially trained warriors drop into the hot landing zone to help their fellow warriors. But there's a problem. The standard chopper escorts have all been directed elsewhere. Mission directions unclear. Worse, pre-assault fire to cover the Chinook transporting our brave fighting men is not ordered. Extortion 17 comes into the landing in this hot spot for terrorism. The Taliban shoots down the chopper. There are no survivors. And 30 Americans get killed. 25 are special ops. And one of those warriors killed was Navy SEAL Aaron Vaughn and his father, Billy Vaughn, along with our friend General Paul Vallely, chairman of Stand Up America, have co-authored a book called Betrayed, Exposing the High Cost of the War on Terror. That book is not out yet, but they are talking about it, and we'll tell you how you could get it. General and Mr. Vaughn, welcome to the show, both of you.
Thank you, sir.
It's always a pleasure. Of course, General, you're a good friend of the show and a friend of mine, and we mourn your loss, Mr. Vaughn. And General, why don't you tell us how this book came about and what the purpose of it is?
Well, Billy Vaughn and Karen Vaughn and I have been in touch with each other for over a year. And so when Billy first contacted me, we talked about Extortion 17 and some of the experiences he had after Aaron was returned to the United States in Dover along with the other casualties that during their debrief from the military, many questions started to come up as to what really happened over there. And I think Billy and Karen got a sense that things weren't as they were told. And so as we progressed over the last year, we've been gathering information, almost 1,200 pages of redacted paperwork from the investigation and reports, as well as Billy's meeting and Karen's meeting with some of the senior military. So what we came up with is this was pretty much a cover-up, a very badly put together tactical operation for the rescue of some Marines who we found out really weren't in that much danger. They'd been in a 3.5-hour firefight already, but that this whole thing was put together and may have well been an established ambush by the Taliban in response to SEAL Team 6 taking out bin Laden 3 months earlier.
Now, Billy, your son, of course, one of the heroes who lost his life on that night. Do you believe, and in the book Betrayal, is it discussed that I think it was Joe Biden who gave away the fact that SEAL Team 6 was involved in getting bin Laden, which basically I would imagine put a target on their backs. And then how do they account for? How is the military accounted for? The administration accounted for? Anybody that you've asked about? The lack of procedure being followed. First of all, the Afghan commandos being involved, the lack of the escort, the lack of the support, the helicopters that would provide support being turned back and told to go away. What's their explanation for this kind of behavior?
Well, Steve, let's back up to Vice President Biden for a moment. And we do know it's a fact. It's out there. It's been said by people a lot more important and higher ranking in our U.S. government than me that the Vice President committed a breach of national security, and never before had the SEALs or any special operators, for that matter, been identified. I understand after they had completed a raid, and Secretary of Defense Gates came out and said, because this has happened, that special operators all over the country feel like their lives are threatened. Our son actually called Karen shortly after, within a day or two after Vice President Biden outed the Navy SEALs, and said, Mom, you got to get everything about any information about us off social media. You got to shut your social media down. He said there's chatter. Our lives are being threatened. Our lives are threatened, and in fact, Mom, your life is in danger and all the family. This is directly because of Vice President Joe Biden, when an agreement had been made not to give the details. Now, along to the military a little bit, they were forthcoming early with information, and as the general said, and we have found that things have been covered up. They were not told. The 7 Afghans on board, for instance, there were 7 Afghan commandos, but we know for a fact, told by the military later on, that they were changed out at the last moment. Now, to this point, and just to tell you why I'm not still talking to military, we found out very early on, not to high-ranking military at least, we have many retired SEALs and retired Rangers who have come forward and told us things that are very disturbing, not just particularly about the operation where Extortion 17 was involved, but about the way that our forces are operating over there and how our men are being put in needless danger because of these rules of engagement. But the 7 Afghans were changed out at the last minute, and as I said, we've quit talking to high-ranking military because we've found that they have not told us the truth about specific questions that we have asked very early on. Someone in Washington, D.C., high-ranking military official, talked to my congressman, mine and Karen's congressman in our district here in Florida at the time, and we were told in the debriefing it was absolutely because of the rules of engagement that the chopper, after the chopper was shot down, that the men who fired the RPGs were not taken out because the rules of engagement, there might be friendlies in the building. That's documented in the 1,200 pages, but somebody in the military told our congressman they didn't know where the shots came from. So we became very suspicious of talking to high-ranking military at that time, not knowing who it was.
That is amazing. We're talking to General Paul E. Vallely, chairman of Stand Up America, and Billy Vaughn, who lost his Navy SEAL son, Aaron Vaughn. And they have, along with Billy's wife, have co-authored Betrayed, Exposing the High Costs of the War on Terror. General, I mean, this all stinks to high heaven. It also, though, coincides with the fact that we're, our military, this president said, I think early on with regard to Afghanistan, I don't like to talk about victory because it evokes images of Emperor Hirohito coming down and signing a peace treaty, which of course a surrender agreement, which of course he never came down and signed. And then he talks about, of course, how the Taliban is not our enemy. And as you talk about in your book, we've just gone away from trying to win wars and kill the enemy and to try to make them like us.
Well, that's true, and the tremendous amount of resources, human resources, killed, wounded, as well as the financial resources that we've put into the Middle East. It's been like a giant sponge, and there's nothing in return for it to the American people. I did want to point out, Steve, we do have a website. It's called specialopsbetrayed.com, and the book is on a pre-order status right now through the rest of July. It's specialopsbetrayed.com.
Great.
They can find more of the story there and order the book if they'd like to buy one ahead of time.
So what do you guys, Billy, what do you think happened here? Was this an unnecessary mission? And if it was, why was it done? And B, I mean, because don't forget, and I know you'll never forget, but I want the people to understand this. I mean, Barack Obama, this is what has always struck me. This is what struck me about the helicopter going down with your son on it when it happened. I said almost immediately when I was doing my WOR radio show, I said, I don't get something here. I really don't understand. I said, Obama had to sleep on it and hem and haw and should we send the SEALs in, our most elite forces in to get bin Laden? What if something goes wrong? What if somebody gets killed? But here he had no qualms about, and I'm sure he wasn't even involved. They sent this helicopter for a real non-emergency, our troops for a non-emergency battle in the middle of the night without preparations. I don't understand how that could happen after we were told about how high level something like getting bin Laden was out of fear of someone getting killed.
Well, I think that's an excellent point, Steve. I think the difference in the two raids is that bin Laden was such a high-profile raid,
right?
That that if anything did happen, obviously the whole world was going to know.
Right.
On the other hand, this raid this night had become not just for the Navy SEALs. You have to understand, not just for the Navy SEALs, but also for the Army Rangers, because of the stepped-up number of operations being done in Afghanistan from 2009 up until 2011, when Aaron and those guys were killed. The stepped-up number of operations had increased so much under Obama's, quote, relentless pursuit of the enemy, that this was not an isolated incident only in the fact that the chopper was shot down. They had begun to operate this way, sending Rangers, sending SEALs, sending special operators out in National Guard choppers because we don't have enough special operations choppers. And by the way, I want to make it clear that the Army, the National Guard, the Army Reserves that were on that chopper that night, those were brave men just like my son.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that somebody high up, maybe even in the White House, I don't know, but somebody high up made the decision not just to send that chopper out that night, but to make this as a normal way of operation, putting conventional general purpose forces, if you will, and special forces together in the theater for the first time. No training in the United States, no training together anywhere else in the world, both vitally important to the security of our nations, but both in their own way.
That is incredible, Billy. Listen, once the book does come out, we'll have you both back on. If you're both in the city, or either one of you are in the city, I'd love to have you stop up the studio and do a half hour. SpecialOpsBetrayed.com is the website. You could order the book, pre-order the book. SpecialOpsBetrayed.com. My friend General Paul Vallely and Billy Vaughn. Billy and General, thank you so very much, and nothing but the best. And thank you for writing this. It needs to be. It's a story that obviously needs to be told.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much.
Take care. All right, folks. When we come back, to do that, please, SpecialOpsBetrayed.com, and get that book on order. When we come back, we're going to be talking a little bit about the British Open, and we're going to talk about Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods and why he may never win another major ever again, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, I hope you were watching or had a chance to at least see the replay and the story that took place yesterday at the British Open on the links, as they say. And, of course, the Scottish Mist joining us right now to talk about lefty Phil Mickelson and his amazing fourth-round victory at that tournament is John Maginnes, former PGA golf pro and host of Maginnes on Tap on Sirius XM satellite radio. Hey, John, good to talk to you again.
You too, Steve. Thanks for having me back.
Well, my pleasure. Wow. I mean, you know, first of all, I don't know anybody who can't like Phil Mickelson. And here's a tournament that he's had so much trouble with, and I think 19 appearances, only a couple of top 10 finishes over the years. He had never won that tournament, of course, and then to be 5 shots off the pace, 5 shots behind, coming into the fourth and final round, and the finish that he had in 4 of the 6 last holes he birdied. I mean, just such a storybook. It was incredible.
Well, and then you couple that with the fact that he should have won the U.S. Open, and he let it slip through his fingers and finished second for the 6th time in the U.S. Open just a month ago. And to come back and to play as well as he played last week in Scotland, and he won the Scottish Open as the warm-up to the Open Championship, the British Open. And he almost let that tournament slip away. He three-putted from 15 feet on the last hole to fall back into a playoff with a young man from South Africa named Brendan Grace, and he ended up winning the playoff. And I think for Phil that was a critical moment in his career because he'd let a few tournaments slip away this year when he should have won. And to be able to push the sun back up in the sky at the age of 43 and to win a major that was the last of the majors that anyone ever thought that Phil would win because of his own admissions. It was an incredible story. How many people have come back? I mean, you may not have it at your fingertips, but how many people have come back in a major, one of the majors, 5 shots down going into the final day and won the tournament? Well, the biggest comeback happened, believe it or not, against Arnold Palmer, 7 shots down on the back 9. Wow. At the Olympic Club in the U.S. Open. Billy Casper did that back in the early I think it was 72. No, 72 is when he won the. It was in the 60s. 72 is when he won the Masters. But 5 shots back on a golf course that hard, you need the guy that's at the top of the leaderboard to have some trouble, and Lee Westwood certainly did.
Yep.
And then you have to play a great and very nearly flawless round of golf, and Phil did. And it's so hard to win one of these tournaments from out front. Just because of the massive pressure, particularly for a guy like Lee Westwood, who's trying to win his first major championship.
Yep.
And then Phil goes out, and he posted a number. He thought that if he got to even par, he would have a chance to win the golf tournament. And he gets to even par with 4 holes left to go, and then birdies 3 of the last 4 to post 3 under. And what I thoroughly enjoy about the Open Championship is it happens like that every year, where the last 45 minutes of golf are almost inconsequential because the tournament's already been decided.
Yep.
Because it's so fair. If you play great, you can score over there, but if you make the tiniest error, it costs you not 1 shot. Sometimes it costs you 2 or 3.
Yeah, we're talking to John Maginnes here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Okay, Tiger Woods. People had high hopes for him, those who root for Tiger. He got frustrated with himself when things started going not so well. He was much closer yesterday. Obviously, I think 3 strokes closer to the lead than Mickelson coming in. He didn't play well. I mean, I know he's rated #1. We talked about that last time we spoke, but is it likely? I mean, you can't predict, but I mean, is the likelihood decreasing that he will win another major as time goes by?
Well, I think he'll win another major. Whether or not he'll win 5 more and become the winningest player of all time, I think, is in question now. That to me is almost he needs to win as many majors going forward as Phil Mickelson has won in his entire career.
Right.
Tiger needs to have another Hall of Fame career starting at the age of 37, and very likely starting at the age of 38. And that seems less likely now than it did 4 or 5 years ago. But I mean, I'd certainly think he'll win another major. He finishes in the top 10 in virtually every single one of them. You would think at some point he'll back right into one, if nothing else. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next month at Oak Hill he wins by 8 or 9 shots. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're having this exact same conversation at the end of August.
Yeah, I would just think that I don't know enough about his personality except what I see, what we found out about it and what we know from seeing him get frustrated on the court. I mean, the mic was hot on one of his shots, and he said GD. He shouted that out loud. I mean, I guess that's not that too uncommon, but he's had that reputation. And as time goes on and he's back in the good graces of the fans and maybe the pressure mounts that he has to win, especially a major, and he doesn't, maybe it just becomes harder and harder for him to do.
Yeah, I think the next one's the hardest one because it has been 5 years, and he only has one more chance, and then it'll be 6 years.
Yeah.
This year. I mean, he has one chance in 3 weeks, and then he has to wait until the first full week of April next year to have another shot.
Well, I'm sorry. Well, like you said, it could be an 8 or 9 stroke victory, or it could be another also ran. But we'll talk about it, John. Again, thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. John Maginnes, former PGA Golf Pro and host of Maginnes on Tap on Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Folks, you want an education on Al Sharpton? I'll give you an education on Al Sharpton when we come back. The great civil rights leader, the man who judges today, who works, who doesn't, who should be punished. If they say something that's offensive, who shouldn't be punished. We'll talk about him on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Accurate portrayal of potential customer experience. Your experience will vary. I was overwhelmed with credit card debt, losing sleep, worrying about money all the time. Creditors were hounding me night and day, and I didn't think there was any way I could ever get out of debt or get my life back. Then a friend told me about the Financial Solutions Group, and I found out all it took to get started was one free call. They really helped me get my life back. If you're like I was, you could see almost half or more of your credit card balances eliminated without the nightmare of bankruptcy or attorney's fees. And they didn't charge me any settlement fees till they reduced my debt. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, this is your chance to get your life back. Make one quick free call today, right now, to see if you qualify. 1-800-477-6802. That's 1-800-477-6802. Again, 1-800-477-6802. 1-800-477-6802.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry surprised many this past Friday when he announced a possible return to peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians. But despite Kerry's efforts, those talks still may never happen. The negotiations would take place in Washington, D.C. and could begin as early as this week. Even so, Kerry acknowledges there's still a lot of work to do before both sides can sit down and talk together. Israelis and Palestinians are expressing doubt that these peace talks could resume.
This is a very tough nut to crack, and I don't see it being easily managed at this time, given the politics of the situation on both sides.
Among the many obstacles, Palestinians are demanding that Israel pull settlers from disputed territories and that they reestablish the 1967 borders. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not budged on these items in the past. Meanwhile, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas warned that all options are open if peace talks fail, but he did not elaborate. And Pope Francis arrives in Brazil today for his first major international tour since becoming pontiff. An estimated 2.5 million people are expected to arrive in Rio de Janeiro to see the Pope during his visit for World Youth Day. Despite recent riots in Brazil, the Pope will not ride in the bulletproof Pope-mobile because he says he wants to be closer to the faithful. This is also his first trip back to South America as the world's first South American Pope. It is also expected to be his only overseas trip this year. And thousands rallied in dozens of cities over the weekend demanding justice more than a week after George Zimmerman was acquitted in the murder of Trayvon Martin. Some civil rights leaders continue to call on the Justice Department and press for federal charges against Zimmerman. And today, people are still talking about President Obama's very personal comments on the verdict.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store. That includes me.
Meanwhile, pro-Zimmerman protesters also marched this weekend, meeting up with Trayvon Martin supporters in Texas. However, both rallies remained peaceful under the watchful eye of police. And investigators in Texas are trying to determine what caused the death of a 51-year-old Dallas mother at Six Flags. She was riding the Texas Giant roller coaster, and witnesses say she flew out of her seat just moments after the ride began. Police and fire department officials say there is no evidence of foul play. That ride is now closed while the investigation continues. And when your Newsmax Now update continues, massive amounts of rain fall in Arizona. See the daring rescues needed as floodwaters consume the streets. Next. Plus, why Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen says Obamacare ruined the Senate's immigration bill's chances of ever passing in the House. That during a Newsmax exclusive.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
And welcome back. People in Phoenix are still cleaning up after a storm hit the area Sunday, causing flash floods. Several people had to be rescued in dramatic fashion when floodwaters trapped them in their vehicles. Some roads are still shut down as a wave of mud covered everything in its path. And immigration reform continues to be a political hot potato, but aside from policy, one of the biggest barriers may be the different approaches both houses are taking. The Senate already passed one big bill, but that will not happen in the House of Representatives. During a Newsmax exclusive interview, Florida Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen explained that's because of Obamacare.
Nobody wants to vote for these mammoth bills. That's what the Senate bill is. So many hundreds of pages. We say House is going to work its will. We're going to do a piecemeal approach.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July 22nd. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Hour number 3 of the Steve Malzberg Show. I have some time now. We don't have a guest in this half hour, and I think this is very important. As a matter of fact, guys, I'm going to want this posted. I'm going to want this sent a link to this whole section here. This whole section. Call it an education on Al Sharpton, a history lesson on Al Sharpton. Okay? See, we've been through something like this before. At least I have, living in New York, as I did at the time, having been on the radio in New York since 1981. I've been through Al Sharpton. My first exposure to Al Sharpton was when he just used to hang around with Don King, boxing promoter Don King, only in America. Yeah, Don King. Al Sharpton used to wear this, like, how can I put it? Like a gym, not a gym suit, not like the spandex or anything, but like a gym suit. You know, the zipper top and the sweatsuit, a sweatsuit. Thank you. Sweatsuit with a big medallion. He wore it on a big chain with a big medallion. He had this long hair. You've seen the early pictures of Al Sharpton. And he used to hang around with Don King. I didn't know who the heck he was. And why did I hang around with Don King? Well, I used to do sports in my first 10 years or so, and I used to go to, we used to do our show for WABC down at Trump Plaza in Atlantic City, and all the fight sites, and we do our show the day or two before the fight, and all these kinds of things, all cool things that my son says, "What? You did that? What are you doing now?" Anyway, point is, that was Al Sharpton in the beginning. Then, lo and behold, let's go back to 1991. 1991, Al Sharpton tried, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, well, not all my opinion, I'll tell you what's facts, and you'll hear his voice by yourself. And I'll read you what I'm reading you and tell you from where. But Al Sharpton, with the help of others and the media, tried to turn an accident into an intentional killing of a young black child. It was an accident. Young Gavin Cato. August 21st. Well, okay. Let's see. Where do they have that? August 19th, 1991. Gavin Cato, the child of Guyanese immigrants, was accidentally struck and killed in an automobile, by an automobile that was in the motorcade of the leader of the Hasidic sect in Brooklyn. Okay? Rabbi Menachem Schneerson. His motorcade, one car lost control and killed a poor young little, 9-year-old black child. Well, don't you know that turned into a murder? It was an accident. The rumors that started to fly, the driver was drunk. The driver was this. The police whisked the driver away. Yeah, they did. You know why they whisked him away? He was going to be killed. The ambulance came, and the driver got out of the car, okay? I don't remember all the details. The driver got out of the car, and he tried to help. And the ambulance came, and the cops came, and they took him for his own safety. They took him away because the mob was going to kill him. The driver. The mob was going to kill the driver. So you had all these falsehoods being perpetrated by the likes of Sharpton and others that, he hit him on purpose, or, all they cared about was the Jewish driver, and the driver was taken to Israel, and nothing ever happened to he was drunk, he ran a red light, all these lies. Same thing like is happening here with the Zimmerman verdict. It's not racism. It's not about stand your ground. It's racial incitement. Has nothing to do. This was a car accident. And you know what it turned into? A 3-day riot in Crown Heights, Brooklyn. 2 people were killed. Well, lots of property damage done. Lots of people injured. Blacks attacking Jews for 3 days. Okay, on a false premise that poor little Gavin Cato, who was killed by accident, was the victim of a drunk driver, was the victim of running a red light, was the victim of this. They didn't tend to him because the ambulance cared more about the Jewish driver. All this fiction. Fiction. In my view, to incite racial hatred and to incite riots. And we had riots. Now, this is not all Al Sharpton's doing, but many will tell you that Al Sharpton played a role in this. I'll tell you that in just a second. So you had, because Crown Heights is Orthodox Jews and blacks. The blacks rioted against the Orthodox Jews. You had one Orthodox Jewish man, Yankel Rosenbaum, who was stabbed to death by a mob yelling, "Get the Jew, kill the Jew." Okay? And you had a non-Jewish man allegedly mistaken by rioters for a Jew who, according to Wikipedia, killed by a group of African-American men. Okay? David Dinkins was the mayor of New York. He was an African-American mayor. He is allegedly famous for saying to the police about the rioters, "Let them vent." Now, he denies he ever said that, but there were witnesses at the time that the police stood by and let the black rioters riot. Even a brick was thrown not too far from David Dinkins. But the cops, at one certain point, stood by and did nothing. Let them vent. Okay? So where does Al Sharpton fit into to all this, you ask? Well, for instance, ladies and gentlemen, I'm reading you from a story here on Breitbart from March 15, 2012 by Rosella Agee. It says 3 years earlier, which is that Sharpton was in the middle of the Crown Heights riot, a 3-day violent conflict between the Jewish and African-American communities in Brooklyn. Sharpton arranged a rally during the riot and announced, quote, "If the Jews want to get it on, tell them to pin their yarmulkes back and come over to my house," end quote. So that's one quote that he's famous for that is quoted here. But he's done so much more, okay? So much. There was the Tawana Brawley hoax, where men's lives were ruined because a black girl found in a plastic bag with feces on her claimed that she had been raped by the white police officers and officials in Westchester County. Al Sharpton took up her cause, accused the specific men of raping her and this and that. It was proven to be a hoax. A judgment for defamation was leveled against Sharpton. Don't ask. Don't ask. And then there's more. Let me give you to one of the quotes here that we have a soundbite from, and this is going to be, well, this is cut 34. Al Sharpton, I guess, didn't have much use for David Dinkins, the first black mayor of New York City, the only black mayor of New York City. He called him the N-word in this little rant you're going to hear over and over. We bleeped the N-word. But he attacked the first black mayor of New York with the N-word, and this wasn't affectionate. You know, Rachel Gentile couldn't even defend this, okay? I want you to listen to cut number 34.
Yes! You want to be the only on television, the only newspaper, the only can talk. Don't cover them. Don't talk to them, because you got the only problem. Because you know if a black man stood up next to you, they would see you for the that you really are.
Okay, we could have played whore. He said, you know, if a black man stands up next to you, he'd see you for the whore you really are. We could have said whore. But the other words were N. You got the only N problem. You think you're the only N. You want to go on TV and be the only N. I mean, vicious, vile, disgusting rhetoric. This is the MSNBC host. This is the great civil rights leader. This is the man who you have to bow down to if you're white or conservative and you say something that somebody doesn't like and they want to kick you off the air. You have to go begging and lick the shoes of Al Sharpton to beg for your livelihood, beg for your very survival. Is this the world turned upside down? I'm not finished. I wish I were, but I'm not. Let's go to this cut. Here he talks about Chinamen and Koreans. I know Chinamen. He's talking about how Kentucky Fried Chicken makes the best chicken, but yet Chinamen come in and make chicken, and how Korean groceries open up and they sell watermelon because they cut it up and put it in a plastic box and put a string around it when blacks have been eating watermelon right along. Listen to this racist, disgusting garbage from Al Sharpton, great civil rights leader who you must bow down to if you want to keep your job. Here's cut number 35.
We're the best chicken fries in the universe. And we don't go buy some Colonel Sanders chicken. Then the Chinamen come in there and throw some hot grease in the tub and dip it down, and you stand in line and buy that. Koreans sell us watermelon. We need watermelon all our lives. But they gonna come cut it up, put it in a bucket with a rubber band around it. And we gonna buy it like it's something we didn't know what it was.
All right, that's wonderful, isn't it? Okay, I want you to listen to this one now. This is at 1994. This is Kane College in New Jersey. Al Sharpton made a speech, and listen what he says about Greeks, okay? He's talking about how blacks were mathematicians and built pyramids and everything way before whites knew what they were doing, apparently. Listen to cut number 36.
White folks was in the cave when we had built empires. We learned to admire them, but they knew to admire us. We built pyramids before Donald Trump ever knew what architecture was. We taught philosophy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around.
Okay, so blacks were teaching astronomy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and those Greek homos ever came around. This is the great civil rights leader, Al Sharpton. Yes, you must go to him and kiss his feet to survive if you should say something that the media doesn't like or that's considered racist. Don Imus had to do it. Others have had to do it. And the great Al Sharpton, he of Greek homos, he of put your yarmulkes on, he of Chinamen and Koreans and all this kind of stuff. He is the great arbiter. Now he decides who shall work and who shall not. We're going to come right back, and I got more. White interloper, Freddy's department store in Harlem, which was burned down to the ground. I'll tell you that story on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45, non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50, non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309, 800-430-1309.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it, or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. Continuing our little education on Al Sharpton. Speaking of that Tawana Brawley case, the American Spectator had a piece by Jeffrey Lord back in March of 2012, which is the one I was talking about. This is actually a different one. Let's see. Before we went to MSNBC, of course, Sharpton called the prosecutor in the Tawana Brawley case, who was Jewish, which the case was a hoax. That's the girl found in the plastic bag, the black girl who claimed she was attacked by prosecutors and police officials in Westchester. According to this article, Sharpton called the prosecutor in the Tawana Brawley case, who was Jewish, Mr. Hitler. Just niceties that you might not know about Al Sharpton. Let's see. This is before you get to the New York Post reporting Sharpton saying, quote, "I have no problem with Khalid Muhammad." Khalid Muhammad, of course, was the number 2 to Louis Farrakhan. Well on the record, it says here, a saying of Jews that they were hook-nosed, bagel-eating, lox-eating, so-called Jews with hairy hands that are pimping the world. And Al Sharpton had no problem with the man who said that. Just for your edification, just so you know who it is who stands there next to the Martin family and calls for justice and calls other people racist and other people bigoted. You know, just want you to know what's going on here. Now, white interloper. White interloper. I read you from the New York Daily News. September 13th, 1995. The Reverend Al Sharpton apparently referred to the Jewish owner of Freddy's Fashion Mart as a white interloper in a rally 3 months before the Harlem Massacre, newly revealed tape show. Speaking at a separate rally, a guy named Morris Powell, who later led the protest against the West 125th Street store, specifically mentioned Freddie, saying that he would not let a, quote, Jewish person drive black businessmen out of Harlem, and vowed, we are going to make that white cracker suffer. Now, this is Morris Powell, not Al Sharpton. But here's the deal. A white business owner, a Jewish white business owner, bought a place in Harlem, a business on 125th Street, right in the heart of Harlem, called Freddy's. And Al Sharpton led protests there against Freddy's. Apparently, one of those protests, he called him a white interloper. Subsequently, Freddy's was burnt to the ground by one man who had been a protester at one point. 7 people were killed. There was gunshots in there. The guy shot people. Fred died. 6 other people got killed. Of course, Al Sharpton was never held culpable. He was never held responsible, never held nothing. Just pointing it out to you, though. Just pointing it out to you. White interloper. Now, listen to cut 37 when he talks about white interloper. Cut 37.
White interloper, I said I was wrong. Cracker, though I think cracker is a certain personification of a certain type of person down south, just like redneck. I mean, some people misinterpret cracker meaning all whites is not true, but the confusion means you shouldn't use it. I mean, sometimes being flippant, you say things you shouldn't say because it gets in the way of your message and people don't really understand what you're saying.
Okay. So white interloper, he admitted he was wrong, but he called Freddie a white. Imagine this. Imagine Brooklyn, New York, 86th Street, Bensonhurst, real Italian neighborhood, at least it used to be. Imagine if a black store owner opened a store, and imagine if somebody led a protest saying, this man's a black interloper, and led protests, and 3 months later, 2 months later, the store was burnt down, someone went in with a gun, set the place on fire, and killed people. You think the guy who called him a black interloper and led the protests would be an MSNBC host? Would be a presidential candidate? Would sit in the office with President Obama? How is all this possible? Would stand next to the Trayvon Martin family? Or a white family would be accepted by the media? You understand what I'm saying? This whole thing is a farce. There is no race in Trayvon Martin's case or George Zimmerman's case except the race being put forth by the race hustlers on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th birthday commemorative edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
This is not your typical Screenfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Joining us right now is Patrick Howley, investigative reporter for the Daily Caller, who was with us just the other day. Hello, Patrick. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Steve. How are you?
Good to have you back. Well, I can't help but say that the headline on a story posted by you this morning happened to catch my eye, and it was Embattled IRS Chief Counsel met with Obama 2 days before writing the new criteria. So this is 2 days before offering his colleagues a new set of advice on how to scrutinize Tea Party and conservative groups William Wilkins, met with Obama?
Yes, he met with Obama personally in the Roosevelt Room of the White House in a very small group of people. And from what I'm hearing from a lot of people here in Washington is that it's completely inappropriate for a chief counsel of a government agency to meet with the president directly and offer any kind of legal advice, especially before he's been sworn in front of the Senate. But I think that's the least of the problems here. The big problem is the fact that this occurred 2 days before they rewrote the criteria. Essentially, they had all kinds of new suggestions, and this happened only one day before Douglas Schulman met with. Had an 8.5-hour meeting inside the White House with a senior Obama administration official. All of this happened in a 3-day period.
All right. Now, what we have to understand here is that this is blockbuster stuff. I mean, all along, the Democrats have said this is over. There's nothing there. This doesn't go past, a few low-level Cincinnati employees. We know that that's not true. We just had hearings last week where we got implications that it went much higher. We heard it went up into Washington, et cetera. But now we're here. Now what you're reporting, and I don't know. I'll ask you. You say there were 13 people at that meeting. I assume that did you hear from one of the 13?
I haven't. I haven't.
Okay, but if this is correct, then this places the president with the guy who wrote the rules and enhanced the scrutiny of the conservative groups. He met with the president and 2 days later wrote the guidelines for scrutinizing the conservative and Tea Party groups, correct?
Absolutely. Carter Hull, the IRS bureaucrat, the 74-year-old who testified in front of ISIS committee, directly implicated the IRS chief counsel's office, headed by William Wilkins, in his testimony just the other day. And so we found the following timeline. On April 23rd, Wilkins had his face-to-face meeting with Obama in the Roosevelt Room of the White House. On April 24th, the IRS Commissioner Douglas Schulman, who has been a big figure in this, and his chief of staff and top political aide, and also his press person, the three of them went in and met with Jeffrey Zients for, according to the White House visitor logs, an 8.5-hour meeting that lasted well into the night in the Eisenhower Executive Office building. The very next day is when the IRS Chief Counsel's Office sent Lois Lerner and these other IRS officials across the country all kinds of new suggestions for how best to target conservatives.
That is incredible. We're talking to Patrick Howley, investigative reporter for the Daily Caller, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Now, let's have a little background about Mr. Wilkins. Wilkins is one of two Obama appointees at the IRS, had been at that time, and he has a history of lobbyist and community organizing, defending community organizing efforts, and also defended Jeremiah Wright's church, correct?
Absolutely. He defended not only Jeremiah Wright's church, but he defended it pro bono in 2008. This was back during his period as a private lobbyist. He represented Jeremiah Wright pro bono when the IRS was investigating Jeremiah Wright for violating his tax-exempt nonprofit status by publicly supporting Obama in his sermons at the church.
I mean, this whole incestuousness is insane. Does Darrell Issa know about this?
I haven't spoken to Darrell recently. We're not close friends. I don't know. I have been in touch with oversight.
I was going. What I meant also, obviously the committee. I mean, as far as you're aware, is the committee aware of this story and of this information?
I was in contact with them today. I don't have a definitive answer about whether they knew this prior. I don't think that they did. But I look forward to talking to them.
Has he been called? Has Wilkins been called before the committee?
No, not at all. This was just very recently that Carter Hull even implicated him in his testimony.
Right,
so Wilkins has not been subpoenaed yet.
But we could hopefully we could expect that to happen. I see the White House, oddly enough, did not return a call for a comment from you. Correct?
Well, I have a very low batting average on that.
Now, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but is there any more news that you're have broken today or are going to break today that you want to give us a clue to?
Well, this is my main focus right now. I'm just trying to figure out what happened between April 23rd and April 25th of 2012 when these meetings were going on in the White House. Jeffrey Zients, who was involved in these meetings, is nowhere to be found. I can't track the guy down. I'd like to make a public statement here and say, Jeffrey Zients, if you're listening, please contact me over email or by phone, and we can have a conversation and sort this all out.
And just tell the folks who Jeffrey is.
Jeffrey was the director of the Office of Management and Budget at the time. He was a key Obama administration official. He left his post at the agency 2 weeks before the IRS scandal broke in April of this year.
This is incredible, and I know you are concentrating on this, but we heard from Congressman Frank Wolf last week on the floor of the House saying that he's been told by reliable sources, and Congressman Peter King says if Frank Wolf says it, there's no more honest, well-informed person that you could believe than Congressman Wolf. He said that as far as Benghazi goes, people have been made to sign non-disclosures. People who were survivors of Benghazi, people who knew what went on, people who are, including CIA and other people, that they've had to sign these disclosures. I mean, so what is going on here? And where, aside from you and me, especially you, and some others, is the media?
The media is, where's the media ever? The media is talking about...
babies in London, in Great Britain.
Yeah, exactly, right. But I'd like to get to the bottom of this, and the good thing is, even though these people are protected from high on up, they did this very sloppily, is what I found in my reporting. They made a lot of mistakes. They made a lot of glaring, blatant errors in doing this, and that's why it all came out, and it's going to continue to come out.
I got to tell you, this is, I'd like to say it's shocking, Patrick. I'd like to say I'm shocked, I'm surprised. How could this be? But, and here's the thing. They'll never be able to prove it. So they'll say, even if he testifies, I had a meeting with the president. I'm not going to disclose what it was, executive privilege, blah, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. And they'll never say what it was, or they'll deny that was ever talked about. And that's it. But, this rises so far up that if this were Bush, tell me what you think would be happening right now if this were Bush and his IRS and all this was discovered under him, and now we know that there was a chat between these two, the president and this guy, 2 days before the new orders were put out. Do you think a democratically controlled Congress would be starting impeachment proceedings?
I think Bush would already have been impeached and giving an interview to David Frost.
Is David Frost still around for that interview?
He is. He's on like Al Jazeera or something now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That is pretty amazing. All right, listen, Patrick, we appreciate your time, sir. Thank you very much, and keep it up.
Great. Thanks, Dave.
All right, take care. That's Patrick Howley, investigative reporter for the Daily Caller here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So understand this. The IRS chief counsel back in 2012, April 23rd, 2012, who was named in the House Oversight Committee testimony by the retiring IRS agent Carter Hull as one of his supervisors in the improper targeting of conservative groups, met with Barack Obama in the Roosevelt Room, or as some people in Brooklyn like to say, the Roosevelt Room, of the White House on April 23rd, 2012. Wilkins' boss, then IRS Commissioner Doug Shulman, met with Obama April 24th, the day after, according to White House visiting logs. And the meeting by Wilkins, according to a testimony here, met with Obama in the White House 2 days before giving his colleagues a new set of advice on how to scrutinize Tea Party and conservative groups applying for tax-exempt status. Now, pardon me, I haven't seen, well, I shouldn't say, because I'm watching CNN all day, which is probably my error. I know I wasn't going to see this on MSNBC. I know I haven't seen it on CNN. I would bet you dollars to donuts, and as I've said before, I don't even know what that means. But I would do it, because that's the kind of guy I am. I would bet you dollars to donuts that you won't see this story tonight on CBS, ABC, NBC. You won't read it in the Times. You won't read it in WAPO, HuffPo. No po. No po. No po. I'm telling you, if this was Bush and this was the story, they would have blown out the royal birth today for this. But it's Barack Obama. And we've been told already by the ranking member on the House Oversight Committee that weeks and weeks ago that there is no IRS scandal. It's over. It's finished. It's done. We found out what happened, and it's over. And the media says, yes, sir, as they always do. And this is bizarre. This is very, very troubling. By the way, George Zimmerman, I told you earlier that he got out of his car on a Florida highway last week, well after the verdict. I mean, I don't mean the day of the verdict. I mean days after. And he helped pull people out of a truck that had overturned on the highway. Well, it turns out he grabbed a fire extinguisher out of his own car or truck and ran to the SUV and helped pull the family out of the overturned SUV. My question is, these people weren't hurt. What would have happened to this family if George Zimmerman had been erroneously convicted and sent to jail? And I don't know if this is a black family, a white family, Hispanic family, white Hispanic family, black Hispanic family. I have no Asian family. I have no idea. Nor do I care, nor should it matter. But pretty interesting that George Zimmerman, a man whose life is under threat, whose parents' life is under threat, who is a marked man. First of all, well, hopefully he's out of Florida by now. But at that point, days after the verdict, not only is he still around, but he gets out of his car to help someone. And you know what? He didn't stick around. The cops came. He left before the cops came, apparently, and I think. But the guy in the car said, reportedly, to the cop, George Zimmerman pulled me out of the car. George Zimmerman. Imagine the shock on the face of the officer. But this is the kind of guy he is. He's risking his safety. He got out of the car. Now, did he know what the reaction would be to him? Did he know how many other people would stop and help? Did he know who might pass by and see him and maybe take a shot at him? He wasn't thinking of his own safety. He was thinking of the safety of the family in the overturned SUV. Now, am I George Zimmerman's agent? Am I George Zimmerman's, promoter? Am I George Zimmerman's preacher? No. But I'll echo what Alberto Gonzales said. It wouldn't have mattered who was on top of George Zimmerman. If, in fact, his head was getting banged, if his nose was broken, as we saw it was, it wouldn't have mattered what color the person was that was on top of George Zimmerman that night. He would have got shot. And I think Alberto Gonzales, who we had on at the top of the show, by the way, said it perfectly. Because I believe in my heart that that's the absolute truth. The absolute truth. It wouldn't have mattered what color. And it wouldn't have mattered what color Trayvon Martin was. Zimmerman would have called 311 as he did anyway. Don't forget, he didn't call and say, hey, there's this black guy. He said there's this guy, I don't know what he said, kid, teenager, whatever. Looks suspicious. Looks like he's looking in windows. It's raining. He's not walking fast anywhere. He's taking his time, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what color is he? Black, white, Hispanic? Well, he looks black. An afterthought. Well, if you're asking me, he looks black. Not, hey, you got to come get this black guy. But it doesn't matter that there's absolutely no evidence of anything racial. Doesn't matter. Why is the Justice Department building this up and giving false hope? Why didn't the Justice Department just say, hey, the FBI investigated this. They talked to 30 witnesses already. There is no racial animus. There is no proof. Instead, they're letting the radical fanatics like Sharpton and Jackson and, hang on to this hope and tell their followers that there might be a civil rights violation here, a prosecution here. And then when Holder has to come out and announce there isn't going to be one, we're going to go through either all this again or worse. So why didn't they just end it? Why are they keeping this going? Because I believe they're going to do everything and anything and any way possible that they could bring a civil rights charge against George Zimmerman, they will do it. If they found out he liked red licorice better than black licorice, and that once he threw black licorice on the floor and stepped on it as a kid, hey, see? I told you he doesn't like blacks. I'm telling you. Anything they could get this guy on. Anything. Otherwise, they would have said already, we did the investigation, which they did. We found nothing, which they found nothing. Instead, it's like, well, send us the gun, send us the evidence. The verdict troubles me. We're investigating. Why would you do that? If you don't think you're going to file something. Unless you want more riots, which you didn't really have this time around. And I can't get inside Eric Holder's head. I have no idea why he's doing this. Anyway, which leads me to believe he's doing it because he knows he's going to file some kind of charges. That's all I could say. Anyway, we'll come back. One final segment on the Monday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5-ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
I love you, son. So it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the total transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now.
800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news from the world of Major League Baseball. The league, Major League Baseball, has suspended Milwaukee Brewers slugger Ryan Braun without pay for the remainder of the 2013 season. And Braun will not contest the suspension, which was meted out for violations of the basic agreement and its joint drug prevention and treatment program, according to a statement released by MLB. As I have acknowledged in the past, I am not perfect, Braun said in a statement. I realize now I've made some mistakes. I'm willing to accept the consequences of those actions. This situation has taken a toll on me and my entire family, and it's been a distraction to my teammates and to the Brewers organization. The suspension totals the final 65 games of the Brewers season and any potential postseason games this year. Will A-Rod be next? Now, A-Rod had finished his rehab in the minor leagues. You're allowed 20 games, and that's it. You can petition baseball to extend that, but he reached 20, and now an MRI revealed a quad problem, so he's still on the disabled list. Whether or not he will be next or there will be others to follow in this house of cards, we will see. We will keep you posted. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. I want you to listen to clip number 25. Melissa Harris Perry, a woman who has said she wishes she could wish her sons away because, blacks are treated so poorly, black men are treated so poorly in this society. A woman who said that children don't belong to the parents or the family, they belong to the community or the society. A woman who has referred on several occasions, at least two, to what she represented a fertilized egg as this thing. Now what she did to protest the new abortion law in Texas, where you can't have an abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy, here's what she said. She wore tampons on her ears as earrings. Here it is.
Also, I just have to show these. My producer Lorena made for me last week some tampon earrings because, of course, you'll remember that the Texas state legislature said that you couldn't bring tampons in when they were going. These women to, in fact, stand up for their own reproductive rights. You weren't allowed to initially to bring tampons. So just in case that ever happens again, ladies, you can just bring them on your earrings. And just so you know, we are now going to turn the page a bit and do something totally exciting. Strap on your best thigh highs. The star of the Tony Award-winning musical Kinky Boots is here.
And as she said that, she stroked her little tampon earrings. If you were watching at Newsmax, you saw the despicable spectacle. If you're listening, what could I tell you? I didn't make it up. It happened on the Steve Malzberg Show.